Good afternoon, everybody. Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Smash that like, hit subscribe. We've got some things to jump into before we check out question period, which will follow up right on time. Swear we'll be on the mark. Let's check out what we've got. A lot of people talking. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, it's good news.
Yeah?
It's good news, yeah. But I'm just a has-been, so I don't comment anymore.
I know, but he's inspired to come
back? No. Have you spoken to my wife yet, or?
Do you support him remaining leader?
Who, Pierre Poilievre? Absolutely, 100%.
For the next 3 years?
He's awesome. He's fantastic. He's well informed. He has the experience. He's on top of the issues. He cares about Canadians, and he's saying all the right things that Canadians need to hear. It's when he becomes Prime Minister, you'll see a different government here that will deliver real results.
But hasn't things changed since the last election? Public opinion polls showing that they're satisfied with Mr. Carney. You've seen a couple of your colleagues go to the other side. Have things changed that make it difficult for Mr. Poilievre?
Not at all. We're united as a caucus behind our leader, and we're looking forward to keeping to hold this government to account, and looking forward to that next election whenever it comes.
Are there any lessons learned from last night's results?
None.
The Conservatives, even though your vote percentage went down?
The Liberals won 3 by-elections last night in ridings that they won April 28th last year. The same ridings.
But your vote percentage went down.
We lost nothing.
Your vote percentage went down.
You want to look at the vote percentages?
I do, yeah.
Okay, then you have to look at voter turnout and a whole bunch of other issues.
Can you really keep Poilievre as a leader for 3 years for him to
100%.
maybe win in 3 years from now?
100%. Of course, there's no question of leadership. We got 87.4% support at our convention in January from our base of delegates that were there. 100% support him.
What do you say to Conservatives?
Change going forward?
What do you say to Conservatives who think maybe it is time that the Conservatives look inward
I say
and
to
figure
them that
out?
the things that are important to us are the fact that as we're speaking here today, 24,000 children are walking into food banks hoping to find something on the shelf to eat because they're hungry. 2.2 million people every month are visiting food banks.
But what do you say to Conservatives that say the party can't win with him as leader?
The national debt this year is $80 billion that we know of, if not higher, when they do their economic update.
But with all respect,
Crime
Mr.
on the
Poilievre
streets
didn't win last
is
time.
incredible. In my riding alone, in the last 5 months, there have been 2 murders on the streets of Richmond Hill. Okay? Things are not good on the ground. So I think we're focusing on the right things to deliver results for Canadians. We're going to keep holding this government to account. Thank you.
Is there anything that can be done to make sure Caucus is happy, better managed?
Caucus is very happy. People that
Sir, Caucus is not very happy.
Caucus is very happy. Nobody has told me they're not. They're very. We're united. We're solid 100%. The people that left for their own reasons. Good luck to them.
It was because of the leader.
That's what happened. People have left before. No, you're saying it's because of the leader.
No, they're saying it's because of the leader.
Well, it's a
Other
good
people within your caucus have said it's because of the leader.
They will say what they want to say. I know one thing for sure. Okay, Pierre Poilievre has strong leadership. He's focusing on the right things for delivering results for Canadians, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Has anyone approached you to floor cross the Liberals? Have any Liberals reached out to you at all?
No, not at all. Nobody.
Do you think are you anticipating or worried about some of your colleagues deciding to cross?
You never want to see your colleagues cross, but if they decide, the grass is greener on the other side, they can go wherever they like. But we were elected. We were elected on a platform to deliver results for Canadians. And you can't say one thing one day and change the next day. You can't say today, I'm going to stand up in the House and I'm going to criticize the Carney government. The next day, oh, look at me. I just came out of the shop, I bought a nice red dress, and now I'm a liberal. You can't say one thing one day and behave differently the next day and expect to have something.
Those suffering from addiction.
But how can Poilievre change?
Sorry?
What can Poilievre change?
I don't know why he should change. He's doing all the right things. Look, if you look at what he has focused on, just in the last few months alone, let alone from the beginning of this particular 45th Parliament, he's focused on all the right things. He's in touch with Canadians. He's spanning this country from coast to coast to coast. He's talking to a lot of people, and that's the way it is. Now, political polls and going up and down, that's not something you can control. We'll see what happens on Election Day when that comes.
Mr. Poilievre can't control that with what he does.
Mr. Poilievre can control the message that what our party stands for and what we're fighting for, and that's exactly what he's doing. That's a big, and that's a big plus. Okay. The real poll that counts is on election day. You will see on election day a different result. On the last, talking about polls, on April 28th, I was supposed to lose by 2 percentage points in my riding. I won by 12. That's a 14-point swing. I will leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Why?
Why do I support Pierre? Right Vision for Canada is focused on the issues that affect Canadians the most. Sorry, I'm out of breath there. I just climbed up the stairs. But no, I 100% support Pierre, and he's trying to do the right things, and he's thinking about people at home and what the struggles they're going through financially and a lot of other things.
How do you square that with what public opinion, when public opinion seems to suggest that a lot of Canadians, that what Mark Carney's doing is resonating with a lot of Canadians, more so than what Mr. Poilievre has on offer?
In what areas?
Public opinion polls
Just in a straight up.
Yeah, like he's preferred as a prime minister in many ways. Canadians seem to like what this government is doing, not so much what the Conservatives are proposing.
Well, we know polls go up and polls go down. There's no doubt about that. And it's just interesting, some of the correspondence I've had recently from constituents. I wouldn't identify them with any particular political party, and might be surprised if that is a trend where we see some of the polling going forward. But polls go up, polls go down, and you know what? You've heard it a million times. So far, a lot of it is just words, and Canadians are wanting to see some results now. And so the pressure's on Mark Carney in the next year, 2 years, potentially, to actually deliver for Canadians.
Do you view the government as a legitimate majority government?
Do I think the government is a legitimate?
Do you view the majority government as legitimate?
As legitimate?
Yeah.
Obtained legitimately or legitimate?
Yeah, legitimately.
Well, I think it was convenient. I think it was convenient when Marilyn crossed the floor. In fact, she was just at the crosswalk when I was just walking across here. But I think it's interesting the timing in which she crossed. I think we all see the convenience where the by-elections were yesterday, and so it wasn't her crossing that gave them the majority. It was the by-election that gave them a majority. But I don't think, in my own opinion, and from what I hear people from the arena or the grocery store or what have you, they have real concerns on majority governments getting cobbled together after the fact. We've had floor crossings for ever since we've been born. I don't agree with them, but the fact is, I don't know in history if one has ever given somebody a majority
Why
government.
are we hearing you call for an election?
You have been in the government before, and now
Yes.
you're going to be in opposition for another probably 3 years. What does that feel like? Is that demoralizing?
Well, I used to have beautiful long hair at one time. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not demoralizing. I thought Andrew Coyne made a great point last night. We all know it. Our job is to keep the government to account. It is also to work collaboratively when there's an opportunity, but also to keep them at account. There, you want to talk to Marilyn now?
Conservative bench or the Liberal bench? I'm getting confused, actually.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, aren't you? You know, it seems like it was a really good day for Conservative voters yesterday. They got the Prime Minister that they wanted.
But Golden Mill says that there's an MVP in the mix across the board.
I can't even imagine.
Oh,
So,
really?
I honestly can't. It's certainly not going to be me. I will never do that. That I promise you.
What do you make
So-
of the Liberals having a majority?
I mean, obviously it's disappointing. You know, the Canadians wanted a minority government, and they voted for a minority government. But here we are. This is the voters voted last night. I'm proud of our candidates. They had a new leader, and they came out. They fought hard, and we had really good candidates that put together a camp profit of 40%.
The results, the by-election results?
Yeah.
Well, these were not competitive seats for Conservatives. Pierre has done well in leadership review. We have some members who have left. They've given up, frankly. I will bet you not one of them runs again in the next campaign. They're out of gas, and they've given up, unfortunately. The rest of us are going to soldier on and win the next election.
What's your
I gotta
message
go.
to Conservatives who say about Mr. Poilievre's leadership, given the floor crossings we've seen some caucus?
I'm 100% supportive of Pierre.
Why? Given what we've seen, there are some Conservatives who are suggesting maybe it's time for caucus to consider other options, or for Mr. Poilievre.
Mr. Poilievre's doing an excellent job, and I support his leadership.
But what do you make of a success, 4 floor crossers in a row? Does that weaken the party? Does that weaken his leadership?
Yesterday, are you happy?
It's great. I'm really excited for my neighboring riding MP, Dolly Begum, for her to join and be a strong voice for the people of Scarborough Southwest.
Are you expecting a more progressive voice in the Liberal branches because she was formerly NDP?
She has been a great voice, and she has done a lot of community work because I like
in the world, and with 87% Conservative members gave Mr. Poilievre the continued mandate to deliver lower prices for Canadians, to fight for safer streets in our country, and to fight for us to strengthen our sovereignty.
You don't think the calculation has changed in the last month?
In our caucus, we have 140 members who believe in delivering and continuing to fight for the very things that they promised Canadians less than a year ago. And Mr. Poilievre has demonstrated that he is committed to that fight. We've seen that he's redoubled his efforts, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Pierre Poilievre and with our hardworking Conservative caucus, who are going to deliver on their promise they made to Canadians less than a year ago to fight for those things that are so important.
But the vote share in those three by-elections went down for the Conservatives. Is that not a message to the Conservatives?
The message that we got from Canadians came loud and clear last year with the vote share that we received with 140 members in our caucus who continue to support and believe in Pierre Poilievre's leadership, and we're going to keep working hard for Canadians because that's what we promised.
Do you think the majority was achieved through legitimate means?
In your role as ethics critic, are you at all worried about the changes to the committees that are likely coming?
We've seen a filibusters ongoing at the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics, and it's disappointing when what we're asking for is just core accountability from the government. You have a minister who said that he thought that there was a risk of a conflict of interest because his partner is a vice president at Alto. And so he said that he wouldn't participate in debates, discussions, decisions, or votes, and that he thought a recusal was necessary. No conflict of interest screen and no recusal has been registered on the Conflict of Interest Commissioner's website. So we've said we want the minister to come to committee, that we want the ethics commissioner to come to committee, and we want the CEO of Alto to come to committee. And Liberals have now continued what is a multi-day filibuster to prevent that. So even in the absence of a majority on committees, the Liberals have found ways to thwart efforts in accountability, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stop advancing those accountability measures because they're important for Canadians' confidence in our democratic institutions, in parliamentarians, and in all levels of government.
Have any Liberals asked you to cross over?
The answer would be no if they did. Thank you.
Showboating going on there. We're in the middle of a 10-hour filibuster right now. 10 hours that the Liberals have been filibustering our motion to have Francois-Philippe Champagne, the Ethics Commissioner, and representatives from Alto to come in and talk about the story about the conflict of interest, the ethics screen. 10 hours they've been filibustering. So there's been a lot of showboating going on at Ethics Committee by the Liberals. So.
Thank you very much. From now on?
Hold off on the what?
The showboating from now on?
What does that mean?
Well, it was the Prime Minister this morning saying that now that he has a majority, that he won't have to, that in committees we won't have to deal with showboating anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Showboating? From me specifically or all committees?
No, just like mostly. I think he was directing it at the Conservative Party.
Wow. That's incredible. When committee's there to try to get facts and truth, and we have a tough time from ministers trying to get facts and truth. So the showboating thing, I haven't seen that yet. But it's in committee, you'll get this where the Liberal government will try to turn the conversation to areas where they don't want to. They don't want to talk about the critical areas. They want to kind of come up with their own topics that don't really affect society. But I haven't seen showboating. Yeah, interesting. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Joining me now is CTV News political comment.
Maybe we'll do that a little later. We're going to cross over to question period now. I think we've got that just about ready to go. Maybe a little conservative action here on the floor to kick it off. Let's go.
And indirectly supports workers and families in rural communities all across Canada. It is a proud part of our heritage, and in my riding, it is a major economic driver that sustains local jobs, businesses, and communities. With mill closures and ongoing challenges facing the sector, communities where forestry is at the heart of the local economy are facing growing uncertainty. Each closure hits close to home, and a year into this Prime Minister's leadership, that uncertainty has only grown. Despite the Prime Minister's rhetoric, tariffs remain, there is still no softwood lumber deal, costs are rising, and investment is flowing elsewhere instead of supporting growth right here at home. Forestry workers need more than speeches and empty promises. They need expanded market access and a deal that provides the stability to grow, attract...
I'm told that, just a moment.
Apparently there's no interpretation, no translation.
Second day
From
in
the
a row.
beginning, there was no translation.
Forestry directly and indirectly supports workers and families in rural communities across Canada. It is a proud part of our heritage, and in my riding, it is a local, major economic driver that sustains local jobs, businesses, and communities. With mill closures and ongoing challenges facing the sector, communities where forestry is the heart of the local economy are facing growing uncertainty. Each closure hits close to home, and a year into this Prime Minister's leadership, that uncertainty has only grown. Despite the Prime Minister's rhetoric, tariffs remain. There is still no softwood lumber deal, costs are rising, and investment is flowing elsewhere instead of supporting growth right here at home. Forestry workers need more than speeches and empty promises. They need expanded market access and a deal that provides the stability to grow, attract investment, and protect their livelihoods and communities.
The honourable member for Toronto St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, it's my honor to recognize the leadership of the Carpenters Regional Council, Tom Cardinal and their entire leadership team here in Ottawa today, and who proudly represent more than 60,000 members across the country. Canada is a nation of builders, and carpenters are at the heart of that story. My own grandfather, Malcolm MacLeod, was a proud member of Carpenters Local 1325 in Edmonton. I remember growing up with the smell of fresh sawdust and running along the 2x4s as a project came together. Our government is building Canada strong, from community projects and new homes to the defining nation-building projects of our time. None of this happens without the men and women who show up every day, tools in hand, with their expertise. These are the folks who build careers, train apprentices, strengthen communities, and support families across the country. Working together and standing on the shoulders of generations of carpenters before them will ensure Canada is strong, united, and ready to build.
The honourable member for Kenora Kiiwetinoong.
Fuel costs are soaring, and people in Northern Ontario who must travel great distances for essential trips are paying the price. To make matters worse, Canadians are paying 20% more for fuel than our American counterparts. That's why Conservatives have a plan to remove the GST on fuel, the fuel excise tax, the industrial carbon tax, and the clean fuel standard for the rest of the year. Mr. Speaker, our plan would cut costs at the pump by 25 cents per litre and save a family of four over $1,200 this year. Now, the Liberal Prime Minister has already admitted that Conservatives have the right solutions for Canada, but what he is offering will not be nearly enough for those struggling. He is only going to remove the excise tax, and only until Labour Day. This half-baked measure will not provide the real relief that Canadians are looking for, Mr. Speaker. It is just another one of this Prime Minister's illusions. Conservatives are calling on the Liberals to vote for our motion to remove all federal taxes on fuel so that for the rest of the year, so that Canadians can afford to keep their tanks fill, Mr. Speaker, and have more money in their pockets.
The honourable member for Nipissing-Timiskaming.
Monsieur le Président, today,
Mr. Speaker,
by veterans and representatives from valor in the presence of the enemy, true patriot love, the Royal Canadian Legion, General Rick Hillier, and the family of Private La Rochelle. They are calling for an independent review of Afghanistan-era acts of valor where new evidence suggests the criteria for the Victoria Cross may have been met. The issue matters to over 20 million Canadians, reflected in motions of unanimous support from the Senate, 3 provincial legislatures, and 2 more on their way. Canada created its own Victoria Cross in 1993, yet it has never been awarded, despite more than 40,000 Canadians serving in Afghanistan. Our closest allies recognize such acts. Canada has not. That absence continues to weigh on veterans and many Canadians. The case of Jess Rochelle has come to symbolize this concern. Mr. Speaker, I'm honored later today to present a petition on this matter, and I urge all members in the House to present, to support.
The honourable member. The honourable member for Portage-Lisgar.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals want applause for knocking a few cents off at the pump for the next few summer months, yet they keep the rest of their fuel taxes in place. That is not relief. That is a coupon. Canadians are already getting squeezed by higher oil prices, and then the Liberals pile on with yet more taxes. That is why people in this country are paying far more at the pump than our neighbours to the south. Mr. Speaker, families don't fill up their tank with talking points. They fill it up with money. And right now, they simply do not have enough of it. But Conservatives have a real plan. We will axe the fuel excise tax and the GST on gasoline and diesel for the rest of the year. And we will axe the industrial carbon tax and the clean fuel regulations permanently. Mr. Speaker, that means 25 cents less per litre and over $1,200 back for a family of 4. Now, the Liberals are celebrating as if they'd scored the golden goal at the Olympics, even though they are still down by 5. They call it relief. Canadians call it too little, too late.
The honourable member for Tayayakan Parkdale High Park.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La semaine.
Mr. Speaker, last week, humanity reached for the first time the hidden side of the moon. It was a great step for Kennedy.
Our side of the moon, a moment of awe, a moment of pride. Artemis II didn't just happen, and no one just gifted Canada a seat. We are there because of decades of commitment to our space program.
Hear, hear.
At home, millions watched the liftoff and landing gatherings across Canada, breaking through the doom scrolling to celebrate together as we watch Canadian Space Agency astronauts Colonel Jeremy Hansen and Dr. Jenny Gibbons carry out their mission. Now, what we say about Artemis is one thing, but what it says about us, what it says about Canada and Canadians, well, it speaks even greater multitudes. How big we are and how small. In images the astronauts sent back to Earth, some were reminded of their love and care for the planet, our only and fragile home. Others saw their faith in God or the great cosmos affirmed, and we all saw new beauty to behold and new mysteries to explore.
Bravo.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Let's go. Let's get it going. En français,
Mr. Speaker,
Pierre. Oh.
There are 3 federal taxes, 3 federal Liberal taxes on gas. Excise tax, the new carbon tax from the Liberal Prime Minister, and for clean fuel, and GST that is applicable to both. After the increase in the cost of living, the Prime Minister is suspending just one of the taxes after Conservative pressure. Why not follow the Conservative plan to save 25 cents a litre for consumers by eliminating all Liberal taxes all year?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
look at who it
the
is.
government has a comprehensive plan to increase affordability for Canadians, including suspending the excise tax on gas, and second of all, through a tax cut for the middle class, benefits for groceries and other essentials, as well as all other programs That saves $20,000 per year per family.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The middle class and lower classes are suffering under this Liberal government even worse than a year ago, according to StatsCan, that announces that the gap between the richest and the others is as big as ever. This Prime Minister is printing money. It creates inflation, which increases the haves of billionaires and also increases people's expenditures and costs. These gas taxes are a tax on everything. Why does the Prime Minister not want to eliminate all Liberal gas taxes in order to help those who need it the most in Canada? Mr. Speaker, first of all, I'm the Prime Minister of Canada, not the Prime Minister, the Premier of Ontario, Premier of Quebec, Premier of British Columbia. The biggest taxes on gas are provincial taxes. First point. Second point, with regards to inflation here in Canada, it is lower than the Bank of Canada's target, and the increase in Canadian salaries is 4.7% per year, Mr. Speaker. Twice inflation rate.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There are 3 Liberal taxes on gasoline. There's the excise tax, there's the new Liberal carbon tax that they call the fuel standard, and then they charge the GST on those other taxes. Because of Conservative pressure, this Prime Minister...
The Honourable Member for Hamilton, Ancaster, I believe it is.
What is up?
Is far too loud during question period. Therefore, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition may start from the top.
Go Frank the Tank. That's the first time I've seen him make a good move in a bit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. There are 3 Liberal taxes on gasoline. Number 1, there's the excise tax. Then there's the new Liberal carbon tax they call the fuel standard. And then they charge the GST on those other 2 taxes. Now, with Canada having the highest grocery price inflation in the G7 and paying 20% more at the pumps, we put the pressure on the Prime Minister, and he's partially backed down, removing only one of those taxes and only for a third of the year. Why doesn't he follow our full plan to reduce gas prices by 25 cents a litre by getting rid of all the taxes for all the year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what the government is proposing is to cut the excise tax, 10 cents a litre for gasoline, 4 cents on diesel. We've already cut the consumer carbon tax, 18 cents per litre. We are recycling all the excess revenues from higher oil prices to Canadians. What we are not doing is what the Leader of the Opposition is proposing, which is to substantially increase the deficit, something he's regularly against by more than $3 billion, because this government can count, Mr. Speaker. This government can count.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What he is not doing is increasing the deficit. It's only up by 100% since he took office, Mr. Speaker. Does he even read his own budget, or does he want Canadians not to know what's inside it? In fact, all the money printing that he does, because he's famous for causing inflation, he's made a career out of it. Statistics Canada has made it clear that the gap between rich and poor is now greater than it's ever been in a report published just this week. One of the biggest taxes on the poor is the gas tax. Instead of just removing a third of the tax for the third of the year, why not get rid of the entire Liberal tax on gas for the whole year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one thing I've learned in my economics education is you've got to study history and you've got to look at numbers. My record as a central bank governor is inflation less than 2% at the Bank of Canada, inflation less than 2% at the Bank of England. But let's get back to where we are today. which is wages in this country are growing at more than twice the rate of inflation. And I'll spell it out for the member opposite. That means Canadians are getting ahead.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's clear that he's learned all the wrong lessons. Not only did he cause the housing crisis in London, not only did he cause the worst inflation in the G7 when he was the bank governor over there, he advised Justin Trudeau to print money here, causing inflation. And since arriving in Canada, he's given us the worst food price inflation in the G7, the worst investment in the G7, the worst housing costs in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7. So why doesn't he learn his lesson from all the failed economic experiments that only benefit insiders with tax havens like him and get rid of all the taxes on gas for all of the year?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Mr. Speaker, I feel like I'm in the presence of students. And on an exam, I don't think you would pass the exam with those answers. Mr. Speaker, as the IMF confirmed yesterday, Canada will have the second fastest growth in the G7 this year. As the IMF confirmed yesterday, we have the best fiscal position in the G7. Point final. As we have confirmed,
Point final. Come on.
we have the highest foreign direct investment per capita in the world.
Hear, hear.
Straight up live.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, the Liberal arrogance. You can cut through it with a knife. This is someone...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition may continue.
We have, Mr. Speaker, what we have over there is inflation of Liberal arrogance. Yes. Right now, he wants to tell Canadians that they've never had it so good when food prices are rising faster in Canada than any other country in the G7. When Canadian households are the most indebted in the G7. Yep. When Canadian housing costs are the most elevated in the G7, and when just today RBC reported that we have the worst investment in the G7. The question again is, Canadians cannot afford gas at the pump. Why not get rid of all the taxes for all the year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
You have,
so
Mr.
cool.
Mr. Speaker, to learn a lesson, you have to have ears to hear. There are some on the benches opposite who've been listening, Mr. Speaker. And they will notice that wages are growing more than twice the rate of inflation in this country. They will notice that rents have gone down relative to incomes for 33 straight months. They will notice that I am out of time.
L'honorable député.
He is out of time. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this...
The Honourable Member for Belleville-Chambly.
Gosh.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was elected on the basis of his skills in economics. He was going to protect Canada against tariffs. But the White House has just changed calculations on already illegal taxes on aluminium and steel. All products that have a significant value or amount of steel and aluminium, instead of paying the illegal tariff, will now pay 25% of the total value of the product. I assume that the government has raised this with the United States. Will Canada get the United States and the White House to do a 180? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, yes, we are working on it, and we are working with our companies, our businesses, our workers, our unions, in order to build a strong Quebec and a strong Canada. The Honourable Member for Belleville-Chambly. Could the Prime Minister be a bit less specific? Hundreds and hundreds of Quebec companies depend on the US markets, and they'll have to cut shifts, cut productions, and perhaps even close. This morning, the Journal de Montréal noted that BRP saw its share price drop by 30%. What will the Prime Minister do now to help companies and workers that are victims of this new bizarre decision from Trump? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are negotiating with the Americans with regards to the renewal of CUSMA. One of the key sectors are the sectors of steel, aluminium, softwood lumber, and the automotive industry. Negotiations will continue, but the starting point is the best trade agreement in the world with the States. The Honourable Member for Belleville-Chambly. Well, indeed, it seems to be admitting that he does not know what's going on. Since the beginning of 2025, we've heard many words, but very few actions. Tariffs are getting worse every time the White House opens its mouth. The Prime Minister can't just wave his CV around, give speeches, and recruit floor crossers. What does the Prime Minister have to say to Canadians and Quebecers that see tariffs on their products that might have to close if there is no tangible action from this government? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, since my election last April, American tariffs have actually gone down. With regards to Canada, it was over 10%. It was at 5.5%. Now it's at 4.4%. We have progressed. We want more progress. We are working very hard on all of this. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that the people of Terrebonne were very clear. We need to work for a strong Quebec and a strong Canada.
The honourable member. The honourable member for Long Range Mountains.
35%. That's how much more Canadians are paying because of rising global oil prices. But in Newfoundland and Labrador, fuel isn't a choice. It's a necessity. Truckers need it to deliver goods. Families need it just to get through the week. Yet Liberal taxes are driving prices even higher while this government pretends that a partial tax cut is real relief. Their plan applies to only a fraction of the taxes that they collect while they take billions from struggling Canadians. When will the Liberals stop punishing Canadians and finally remove all federal taxes on gas so Canadians can save 25 cents a litre for the rest of the year?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud to stand today and talk about what this government is doing for Canada and for Newfoundland and Labrador. $8 billion. That's right, $8 billion for 5-winged goose bay. $12 billion for Newfoundland and Labrador companies that are invested in long-term defence capacity building. Bay du Nord. While this member reads her prepared notes, on this side of the House, we are doing the hard work.
That is so good. Honourable member for Long Range Mountains.
Speaker, the Single Parents Association of Newfoundland and Labrador in that member's riding reported that the high gas prices are driving single parents to make impossible decisions like heat their home or put food on the table. Yet $10 billion, that's how much this Liberal government will still collect in fuel taxes this year while people in Newfoundland and Labrador pay some of the highest gas prices at the pump in Canada. Their plan saves just pennies while costs hit rural and remote communities the hardest. Conservatives have a plan to cut 25 cents a litre for the rest of the year. Will they stop these half measures and deliver real relief for hardworking Canadians?
Yeah. Minister.
Labrador continues to read the same tired notes. On this side of the House, we are working to support rural communities with infrastructure that's available for roads, schools, hospitals. We are working to support families with the Canada Child Benefit, with school nutrition programs, with a child $10 a day childcare, and on the list goes. And by the way, the Conservatives voted against all of it.
All of it. The honourable member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As always, the Liberals are claiming collaboration but delivering obfuscation, accepting the Conservative argument that the gas prices in this country are too high. But as always, they give a half measure, not even half, delivering a third of the proposed tax cut the Conservatives have offered for a third of the year. If the Liberal government is serious about affordability, why not do what the Conservatives have been proposing to save Canadians 25 cents a litre on gas, $1,200 a year, cut the GST on fuel, cut the fuel excise tax, and cut the Liberal fuel standard.
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, let me help the member opposite. We have already cut taxes on gasoline by 28 cents a litre since becoming the new government. We have reduced taxes for the middle class. We have cut GST. We have eliminated development charges. We've eliminated development charges to reduce the price of a home by $200,000 in my riding. That's what affordability looks like.
Do you believe any of that? Anybody believe that houses went down by $200,000?
The honourable member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, if my car ran on hot air, I wouldn't care about the tax cut after that answer. But most Canadians don't have the ability to do what these Liberal insiders are doing and weather all of this. They blame Iran, neglecting the fact that 25 cents a litre goes directly into government coffers. This is a very real suggestion. People in Elgin, St. Thomas, and London don't view driving as a luxury. They know it is a necessity to get around, to get to work, to drive the kids to school. So why won't this Liberal government take these concerns seriously and drop 25 cents a litre right now?
The Honourable Minister.
Speaker, I'm confused. 28 cents a litre is hot air? 28 cents a litre?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. The noise isn't just coming from the right corner in the back. There's a lot of it coming from here. The Honourable Minister may start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, I'm confused. 28 cents a litre cut in gasoline is hot air? $200,000 on a new home is hot air? If that's what he thinks is hot air, maybe he needs to go back to school.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
After years of Conservative pressure, the Liberals have announced a watered-down version of our Conservative plan. The Liberals are only removing a third of the fuel tax for a third of the year, all while still collecting up to $10 billion more from taxpayers. I've heard from the community I represent in Hamilton, and that's not enough. Conservatives will remove the whole tax for the full year. So will the Prime Minister listen to Canadians, vote with us, and bring real relief at the pumps?
Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Try as they might, the Conservatives are not fooling Canadians, and that member is not fooling Hamiltonians, Mr. Speaker. They know that fuel is too expensive because of the war in the Middle East, and they also know that our Liberal government is meeting the moment with a tax cut for 22 million Canadians, with affordable childcare and dental care for families, with the groceries and...
Does he not look 10 years older just today? Like, oh, bad night.
Essentials benefit to deliver up to $1,800 for families with a modest income, Mr. Speaker. And as a result of this week's affordability announcement, we are letting Canadians keep $2.4 billion in their hands, in their pockets after they earn that hard-earned money at the gas pumps, Mr. Speaker. Canadians can see right through the Conservative bluster on this issue.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
The Prime Minister confirmed Conservatives have the solution for Canadians, but he's only delivering a third of our plan. Liberals are keeping the GST and the clean fuel standard. It's time to cut all the tax for a full year. Our plan will cut an extra 25 cents per litre, which will save families $1,200 per year. This is what Hamilton wants. Mr. Speaker, let's make it a great day for Canadians. Will the Prime Minister vote with us and bring real relief at the pumps?
The Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the party of no can't seem to take yes for an answer. We just canceled the excise tax on gas, saving 10 cents a litre for a family, 28 cents since we became the government, $2.4 billion in the pockets of family. And what do these guys say? They say no. They say no to all our affordability issues. No to the food and groceries essentials. They don't say yes to Canadians. We are building a real plan for real families and real affordability, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
After 11 years of Liberals, affordability is getting worse for Northerners despite what they tell you. From their own recent Nutrition North report, quote, in Northwest Territories, 60.7% of Inuit are food insecure, and in Nunavut, 76% of Inuit experience food insecurity. The question is, will Liberals vote for our Conservative motion to remove all federal taxes on gas and diesel? Or Canadians can save 25 cents a litre for the rest of the year? Or will they keep voting for half measures?
You're here. The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we're making life more affordable in the North, not just in big cities, but across Northern Indigenous communities. We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians so Northern families could keep more in their pocket. The Permanent National School Food Program is saving families $800 a year, and we're also cutting costs for jet fuel, which is going to impact communities throughout north of 60. We're tackling food costs and building all-season infrastructure in the North and Arctic. We're building for all of Canada, Mr. Speaker.
Le député de Drummond.
The honourable member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, regional French language news media is under threat, and this is even more true since the RTC added 15 global news stations to the Independent Local News Fund, but without increasing the funding. There are more media outlets, but they're sharing the same funds. Yesterday, when we alerted the minister, he accused us of dividing francophones and anglophones, but on the contrary, we want all regional news media to be adequately supported. But the reality is, French language media in Quebec are losing half of their funding. Will the Prime Minister increase the fund to rectify this? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Be it the Credit Fund, the Independent and Local News Fund, or other measures, the member knows that we will always support the Francophone media sector in a very strong way. The Honourable Member for Drummond. Well, it's time to actually act, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the solution lies in contributions from the digital giants. But in the meantime, our media outlets are closing down, and Ottawa is not doing enough to prevent this. Currently, GAFAM are fighting all the way to the courts to avoid paying their fair share. That is the reason for which the government must increase funding for independent local news outlets. It must offer radio and TV stations a tax credit for journalists' salaries, as Quebec does. It must stop rewarding advertising on the platforms of the GAFAM companies. There are plenty of steps to take, but now it's becoming more than urgent to act. When will the minister finally take action? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, yes, the GAFAM companies have to pay their fair share, but if the Bloc really believe in what they just said, they would have supported our investment of $127 million. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister chose to reduce oil taxes by just 1/3. The result? Canadians are still paying 15 cents in federal tax per litre of gas. The Liberals' inflation over the last 11 years is costing Canadians a lot, to the people of the Beauce, workers and businesses. This shows a lack of respect and a total disconnect from our citizens. Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister vote in favour of our Conservative motion to suspend all federal taxes on gas? The Honourable Minister for Industry. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers woke up yesterday with great news. The same for Canadians, as you know. It's important to make sure that we find the means to help Quebec households and Canadian households to manage the impacts of inflation because of the war in Iran. And that is a reason for which we decided to suspend the gas excise tax, a measure that was very well received in Quebec and throughout the country. This on the coattails of other great investments made by the government to support families throughout Quebec and throughout Canada. A tax reduction announced a few months ago, but also benefits for groceries. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, 4 cents a litre. That's not going to change anything. It's a farce. Canadians are being suffocated by the Liberals' inflationary cost of living. In federal oil taxes, the government has collected an extra $10 billion. $10 billion, which is 10,000 million. Instead of lining off for Ottawa's coffers and enriching their cronies at the cost of billions, can the Liberals really help our people? the people on the ground. My question is simple. Will the Prime Minister stop picking the pockets of Canadians and reduce the cost of living? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, you know, in Ottawa, we actually do our homework. We do what needs to be done. We've suspended the gas excise tax. We've reduced the tax burden on Canadians and Quebecers, and we also help people to fight against food inflation at the grocery store. But my Quebec is from Quebec like me. Quebec will also do the work, and we will work with the new Premier of Quebec, who has promised in her programme to also fight against food inflation and the cost of living in Quebec. The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a fact the Liberal government is set to pocket over $10 billion extra with the rise of oil prices. The Liberals have announced a third of our proposal, and only until September. $10 billion unbudgeted. Why not take an extra $5 billion in tax revenue and remove all taxes on oil for the whole of 2026 to finally give Canadians a bit of breathing space, as the Conservative Party is proposing? Will they do this? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's true, we don't control gas prices that have increased because of the war in Iran and tensions in the Middle East. What we do control is what we do to help Canadians. I was able to reiterate the fact that Quebecers will see a 10-cent per litre reduction, which will help families to spend less. We also control how we vote in the House, and in my riding's constituency, over 40,000 people now have access to dental care. Why is he always against helping his own people?
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Mr. Speaker, home ownership is a priority for Canadians. But now, it just seems like a far-off dream. We all know that here. The average sale price of a home in Quebec went up by 6.9%. For a single-family home, the price went up by 6.3%. For a row home and a multiplex, it was 5.3%. For condos, it was 7.7%. When will the Liberal government adopt our plan to boost residential construction by lifting the GST on all new homes? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a good opportunity to remind members of one of the first things we did in this House, which was to lift the GST for first-time home buyers. But we're going farther than that. Build Canada Homes will build at an unprecedented rate all across the country. I would remind my colleague that Quebec was the first province to sign an agreement with Build Canada Homes. We will get homes built all throughout the country. We will expand supply to bring down prices. And it's remarkable that the Conservatives are finally getting interested in making housing cheaper. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Lafjord. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals would have us believe that they care about regular people's concerns, but that is not the reality that Canadians are experiencing. In Saguenay, the price of a duplex has gone up by 24% year over year. What is more, a study by Desjardins has concluded that the situation will only get worse. Young people want their own home, but they see no light at the end of the tunnel. When will the Liberal government put more money back in the pockets of young Quebecers so that Canadians can finally afford their first home? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a lot of respect for my colleague. We have worked together. We are working to bring down rental prices in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean. We know this is an important issue, and that is why we have lifted the GST for first-time home buyers. But we will go even farther than that. We will invest in the members' riding to secure more home building. We will invest in his region. This is a priority for our government.
For Sarnia, Lambton, McKidwanong.
We've got to point out that everybody should be booing in their seats right now. This troll. Come on. Give me a break. Here we go.
serious leadership and a real plan to build a strong and more independent Canadian economy. Since the conflict in the Middle East began, this global volatility has impacted the wallets of Canadians. We need more direct support for them. Yesterday morning, we saw just that. Can the Secretary of State inform Canadians how our new government is bringing down costs for essentials at home in the face of instability abroad?
And in other news, there's a shortage of red dye, like internationally, all of a sudden. They made a couple of t-shirts, a dress. There's a world shortage of red dye.
So the Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for Sarnia-Lambton for that great question and determination to do what's right for Canada.
That's right.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister announced that we will be suspending the excise tax on gasoline and diesel, meaning Canadians will save 10 cents per litre in gasoline, putting more money in Canadians' pockets as they face higher gas prices by global uncertainty. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are focused on making life more affordable for Canadians. The other side continues with the rhetoric. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, let's get serious. Folks in Oshawa are reaching their breaking point. 74% of Canadians say the cost of food and gas is crushing them. 43% are just $200 away from not paying their bills. Families are cutting back and putting off major decisions, while young people are losing hope that they will ever get ahead. Despite all this, the Prime Minister stands here and has the audacity to claim that affordability is the best it's ever been and Canadians are getting ahead. Shameful. Why won't the Prime Minister fully cut taxes on the gas and food so that Oshawa families can actually get ahead?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, far be it from any member on this side of the House to deprive the Conservative leader of driving the Conservative
What time does the short bus come?
Bus deeper down into the valley of unpopularity. But rest assured, Mr. Speaker, we will save them money at the gas pump along the way. 10 cents per litre with the excise tax having been suspended for the next 4 months, and 28 cents since this government got into power. That's in addition to the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit. That's in addition to a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. We're the party that's making affordability a reality.
The Honourable Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, Oshawa and Durham Region families cannot pay their bills or put food on the table with these Liberal half measures and talking points. After years of their government spending, 61% of Canadians say that they are facing financial whiplash. Conservatives have put forward a real plan. Suspend all federal gas taxes through to the end of 2026. But once again, the Liberals are taking a great Conservative idea and watering it down. Will the Prime Minister stop the half measures, deliver real relief, fully cut taxes on gas and food for Oshawa families and all Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, it's hard to take this member seriously when she has voted against every affordability measure that impacts families in Durham Region. She stood up in this House and voted against the Groceries and Essentials benefit. She's voted against a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. They say they want us to cut taxes at the pump. That's exactly what we're doing, and yet they're opposed to it. So we're making life more affordable. Where was she when we announced a major project to give jobs to 21,700 members of the Durham Region community for the SMR project?
The Honourable Member for Terranova, the Peninsula.
What time is the short bus?
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal Prime Minister claimed he was going to have responsible budgets and fix Canada's economy. Instead, he actually spent more
more reckless spending than Justin Trudeau, and now Atlantic Canadians are having to spend more and struggle more. Atlantic Canadians are working harder, and yet they're not getting any headway. Nearly a third of Canadians say they don't even have enough to cover their bills. We are in serious trouble, Mr. Speaker. When will this government get serious about affordability?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Speaker, I'd like to remind the opposition member from Newfoundland and Labrador, Beta North is a way that we support Newfoundland and Labrador with jobs, money in the economy, $8 billion, five-wing Goose Bay, $12 million to support local companies. I also want to remind this member who has fishing and harvesters in his riding.
Just because, like, they're getting caught right there in the background, Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu and Health Minister Marjorie Marie are sharing dick pics. Look, in the background. And Sean Fraser's trying to sneak a peek.
The renewal of the Atlantic Fish Fund, Atlantic's Wild Salmon Fund. We are doing the work. We are not reading tired notes, and we are not following just poor politics.
The Honourable Member for Terranova, the Peninsula.
Mr. Speaker, I just asked a question about affordability, and I can't believe I never heard anything about affordability. But I guess that's no surprise, considering this is Fisheries Minister who voted against my bill that would have allowed struggling Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to fish for food 7 days a week on Wednesdays, go out in their small boats, they can fish for food, bring down their grocery bill. Will this Fisheries Minister allow Newfoundlanders to fish 7 days a week to help with their grocery bill? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
She smiles, guys.
We debated the private member's bill. It was defeated for very good reasons. What I will remind this member from Newfoundland and Labrador about is that we follow due diligence, an open consultation on what the recreational fishery needs to look like. A What We Heard report will be coming out very shortly. We will follow with select consultations, and then I will, based on what I have heard, I will put a plan together for this season. That's how we set policy that actually aligns with the needs of communities. Again, not just tired notes and rhetoric.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning.
Mr. Speaker, he makes promises, but the Prime Minister fails to make life more affordable. Canadians are experiencing financial whiplash under this Liberal government. Nearly three-quarters say rising prices for essentials like food and gas are straining their finances. Unpredictable conditions mean cutting back on spending and delaying major financial decisions. Canada is less affordable under this Prime Minister. Will he help Canadians by adopting our Conservative plan to cut all federal taxes on gas and food?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, what I hear when I travel through Alberta is how supportive people are of the government advancing
Who's that guy?
priorities for Albertans, things that matter most to them: affordability, energy, and economic growth. The announcement to temporarily remove the federal excise tax on gas will help families and farmers, truck drivers and business operators throughout the province. We're working hard to build a country where Albertans and all Canadians can have greater prosperity.
It's in the cabinet.
Honourable Member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance recused himself from the Alto high-speed rail project months ago, and yet no one was made aware of this. Yet he's been promoting the project. He even voted on the project. So what's the point of recusing yourself if you're just going to stay involved anyway? Recusal is supposed to be about removing yourself from a project when there is a conflict of interest. If there is a conflict of interest, how come the Minister of Finance won't come to the Finance Committee and explain to Quebecers what they need to know? The Honourable Member. The Finance Minister has fully answered those questions. The member knows full well that we follow the most stringent ethics laws in the world. As for Alto and the high-speed rail project, I would reassure members that Quebecers have noted the Conservative leader's opposition to this major nation-building project, which will change transportation in Canada forever. The Honourable Member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the Ethics Committee, we've just started a second hour of Liberal filibustering. These Liberals are talking about everything except the motion before the committee. The motion is asking for the Finance Minister, Alto, and the Ethics Commissioner to come to the committee to answer questions about conflict of interests. We would like to be talking about the Trans-Canada Highway, but the Liberals are only bringing up ridiculous things like turkeys on Highway 50. Will the minister finally come to the Ethics Committee and answer some of our questions? The Honourable Government House Leader. If the member would like to talk about Highway 50, well, I'm sure the member for Argenteuil-La-Petite-Nation would like to talk a little bit about it, given that we have projects in place to improve the most dangerous highway in Quebec. As I have noted, the Finance Minister has rigorously...
They forwarded the dick pics to Tim Hodgson there, and now he's looking.
...followed all ethics rules.
He wasn't impressed. I think they were of Steve McKinnon, maybe. I don't know.
And as for the high-speed rail project, we will take no lessons from the Conservative Party. We will take no lessons about transportation or this generational investment, which will change transportation in Canada forever.
For Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
The law is clear that ministers must not use their position to further the personal interests of their family members, but the finance minister is championing the multi-billion-dollar Alto project where his partner is a vice president. Now, it was the finance minister who told the prime minister that he was concerned about a conflict of interest because of that relationship and said that he needed to recuse himself, and Canadians agree. The problem is that's not what he did. Now, the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics wants to review the matter, have the minister come to clear the air. Instead, we have a Liberal filibuster. So will the minister end the filibuster and come to committee?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
You want to know who's championing high-speed rail in Canada? 173 Liberal MPs on this side of the House who are going to build major nation-building projects.
It's such an insult. They're so obvious. They do this woke shit. I don't know. I don't like the way they insult on that side.
Including high-speed rail, a major
they're pussies.
Project for national unity, a major project for mobility in our country, a project that will favor the building trades, men and women, steel, aluminum, lumber. We're going to put people to work using Canadian materials, and we're going to move that train as fast as we can, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, the problem is for these Liberals is that their Liberal candidates in the area even know that this is so unpopular that they're speaking out against this boondoggle. And Canadians want accountability from these Liberals. It's $90 billion, and the minister is refusing to come to committee, and there's this Liberal filibuster that persists. My question is to the chair of the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics. Can he tell the House why the minister hasn't been scheduled to appear to testify on this conflict of interest scandal?
The Honourable Chair of the Access to Information and Ethics Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the member's quite right. If the minister had nothing to hide, he'd have nothing to fear coming to the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee will be heading into its 12th hour with the Liberals filibustering an amendment that Conservatives actually support. Mr. Speaker, the motion calls on the Finance Minister to explain his claim that he's recused himself from decisions on Alto when it's clear he did not. Yesterday, the Liberal Prime Minister promised Canadians that they would see less showboating, more relevance, and substantive debate at committee. So if the Prime Minister truly believes that, why doesn't he tell his members to stand down and have the Finance Minister appear?
The Honourable Member for Honoré-Mercier. The Honourable Member for Honoré-Mercier. The Honourable Member for Honoré-Mercier. Mr. Speaker. Bill C-22 will be debated in the House once again today. This is a crucial bill which will help to counter serious crimes like extortion and help police investigations move faster. This measure has been asked for by police officers from across the country, including the member for Medicine Hat Cardston Warner. Could the Minister of Justice explain to the House how important Bill C-22 is for the safety of all Canadians?
Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the member for Honoré-Mercier for his question. Crime is increasing in frequency and sophistication. Criminals are using digital tools to abuse children and engage in human trafficking. C-22 would bring about lawful access, giving police officers the tools they need to combat organized crime and protect our communities. Police officers from Quebec and Canada have called for these tools. We have listened to them, and I call on all members to support this important bill.
Member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Once again, the Liberals are giving to our troops with one hand, but taking with the other. The Prime Minister and Minister of National Defence love to brag about their fake raise they gave to the forces. The reality is many of our troops are taking home less on their paychecks because of Liberal policy changes. Sadly, military families were only given 1 week's notice before the change to their out-of-pocket, out-of-country living allowances, in some case reducing their take-home pay by up to $1,500. Why are the Liberals short-changing frontline troops who are putting their lives on the line to defend Canada?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, there's nothing fake about 8%, 13%, and 20% pay raises. That's the first thing to do. The member knows better than to raise this subject matter, which is important this way. 90,000 members of the forces are getting a pay raise. He's aware of that. We've invested in hundreds of new housing units on and off basis, Mr. Speaker. 800 homes are being constructed today. We've modernized the application process. Mr. Speaker, we're making progress. I'm looking forward to thoughtful and earnest suggestions for improvement. That was not one of them.
Yeah. The Honourable Member for Selkirk, Interlake, Eastman.
Well, Mr. Speaker, all that bragging is just talk and no action. It's the Minister of National Defence's job to fight for the best interests of those who put on the uniform to fight for each and every one of us. These brave Canadians deploy to Latvia and other places around the world without hesitation. They sacrifice months away from their loved ones in the name of Canada because the minister tells them they have to. It is his job to make sure they're treated as the best that this country has to offer. Instead of making excuses or bragging, will the Defence Minister take responsibility and help our military families make ends meet?
The Honourable Minister.
It's a bit rich, Mr. Speaker. He's voted against every single proposal to look after our forces. He has no ground to stand on, Mr. Speaker.
They're so weak, man. They're lame.
The members of the Canadian Armed Forces carry out important work on behalf of Canada here at home and around the world. We've introduced a suite of cost of living supports to support them and their families. That's a well-deserved pay raise. $100 million for additional childcare. $3.7 billion for 7,500 new housing units. Our work to support the members of the Canadian Armed Forces, Mr. Speakers, and their families continues each and every day.
The Honourable Member for Vernon Lake Country, Monashee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the minister is telling us half the story about the pay raises. What he's forgetting is that overseas reductions of over $1,500 a month are being taken back from living allowances. These are real families putting their lives on the line abroad who are given just 6 days' notice and are now scrambling to adjust. This Liberal government increases pay only to claw it back. The headlines all scream about increased military pay, but why are so many frontline soldiers deployed overseas actually being forced to take a pay cut?
Minister of National Defence.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, let's be factual. 8%, 13%, 20% pay increases. Annual retention bonuses based on years of service, instructor benefits, special incentives to allow folks to move from the practicing of their trade.
All of that does sound all right.
And the forces to become instructors. We're making progress, Mr. Speaker. We are all together, collectively rebuilding the Canadian Armed Forces. The members on both sides of the House are aware of this. I would welcome their thoughtful input.
The honourable member for Richmond East Steveston.
Mr. Speaker, global conflicts and chaotic and irrational decision-making with critical oil supply chains has led to increased global prices. While these events seem distant, they are already pushing prices higher at the pump, grocery store, and causing Canadians to rethink where they're booking their summer holiday. Budget 2025 laid out how Canada's new majority government will create a more independent and resilient Canadian economy. Can the Secretary of State lay out how our government is supporting Canadians day to day?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member from Richmond East Steveston for that great question. Yes, indeed. Yesterday we paused and suspended the excise tax on fuel, 10 cents. We cut the consumer carbon tax. That's another 18 cents, 28 cents total. We cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. Groceries and essentials benefit, $1,900 per family this year, $1,400 a family for the next 4 years. On this side of the House,
do you guys think Wayne Long believes any of his own bullshit, like he's that kind of a fool, or do you just think he's like a clown that knows he's trying to trick you? Like, I'm not sure. I think he might believe it.
We're going to continue to focus on bringing costs down for Canadians, making life more affordable for Canadians. That side continues with the rhymes and the rhetoric. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, on April 6th, the U.S. government imposed Section 232 tariffs that threatened nearly 60,000 Canadian jobs and hit an industry worth $6 billion that feeds a manufacturing sector that's worth over $100 billion. These new tariffs are hammering our mold makers right now. Some companies are thinking of moving to the U.S., unfortunately. Canadian mold makers are in Washington today trying to negotiate on their own because this Liberal government is refusing to do that. When will the Prime Minister show that he cares about Windsor workers and Canadian businesses and actually defend our country's economy and our jobs?
Is that your MP, Mike?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Speaker, of course, we will be there for the Windsor workers affected by these tariffs, and that is why also, along with Premier Ford, I was in Windsor a month ago to open a new important battery factory with 3,000 new jobs in Windsor. That being said, Mr. Speaker, we're well aware of what my colleague is referring to. I met with the steel industry again yesterday. I've been working the phone, and my colleague, the Minister of U.S. Trade, also has been on this. Our entire team in Washington is also activated. We will defend our steel workers. We'll defend aluminum workers. Thank you.
The honourable member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, grocery giants are ripping off Canadians again. First, they colluded to fix bread prices. Now, they're committing fraud by deceptive weight labels on meat. They are literally putting their fingers on the scales to overcharge shoppers. And instead of enforcing the law, the Liberals cut Canadian food inspectors, the only way to protect consumers. This Prime Minister said he wanted to be judged on the cost of groceries. Will he take action to stop the food monopoly from cheating Canadians?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Where I agree with my colleague is definitely we don't want companies to pass costs to consumers. We will be there to protect consumers at a time where we know the Competition Bureau needs to do its work. That is why my team and I have engaged the Competition Bureau. We will be hawkish on competition. We will go against any form of illegal form of proceedings. Thank you.
That's it.
That ends our time for question period today.
Well, then what are we going to watch? I think I've got this. Maybe we have Liz May in the tank. Like,
Bonjour, merci d'être ici. Je suis ici pour un petit commentaire.
I didn't know she was going to open with that French shit.
Canada au sujet de la
She won't last long.
nouveau gouvernement libéral. Can we say it's a new majority liberal government? I want to make a couple of obvious points first, as leader of the Green Party of Canada and someone who pays close attention to politics. I noticed that on April 29th, Scarborough Southwest and...
Look how wrecked she is. Like...
University of Rosedale and Terrebonne were all Liberal seats. So I find it interesting that we now have a lot of coverage of the Liberals have swept in the by-elections and almost no commentary on why there were by-elections. Obviously, Terrebonne is the exception to every rule, being a Supreme Court decision that due to an Elections Canada egregious error, a voter's vote wasn't counted. But I don't think Bill Blair, the MP for Scarborough Southwest, campaigned in April to say, please elect me for a little while, nor did Chrystia Freeland say, I don't plan to stay. The by-elections have been created by the Prime Minister's internal decision-making with his cabinet about roles for high-profile people in safe Liberal ridings. I don't think we've seen the end of it. Certainly there are abundant rumors that the next high-profile, and I think much-respected Liberal who is no longer in cabinet, Jonathan Wilkinson, may be headed for a diplomatic post, which will cause another by-election. By-elections are expensive, and they are difficult for voters when they've just had an election. It's hard to engage people in a by-election. So I make those comments just to say the seat count has changed, not partially because of floor crossing, but only because of floor crossing. And that is part of our Westminster parliamentary tradition. I'm not going to rant against floor crossing, but I do think it's important to note that the electoral map didn't shift because of the by-elections. It shifted because 4 Conservatives decided to sit with the Liberal Party and 1 NDP member decided to sit with the Liberal Party, and that as individual MPs under Westminster parliamentary system is their right. I think it's not a new observation that people in politics live in glass houses, but certainly Pierre Poilievre didn't appear to be shocked when he was called into Rideau Hall with his boss, Stephen Harper, to see his new cabinet colleague, David Emerson, sworn in, who had days before been re-elected, who was a former member of Paul Martin's Liberal cabinet and became pretty swiftly a member of Stephen Harper's Conservative cabinet. These are not unpredictable, well, they've been unpredictable lately, but they're certainly not unprecedented events. L'autre chose, je vais faire un petit commentaire, c'est au sujet du changement climatique, the crise qui continue. Earlier today, there was a very important session. I don't think anyone really noticed it very much, but it was the Planetary Health Roundtable on the Hill. I was one of the co-sponsors, along with Senator Rosa Galvez. Important evidence was presented by scientists in terms of the galloping nature of the climate crisis and why it matters to hold to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is the goal of the Paris Agreement. So of the scientists there, one of the conclusions that I found most startling, and I don't know how many of you, I have to admit, I looked it up to make sure I had it right. What does AMOC stand for? AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation System. This is basically the ocean current system that engages the Gulf Stream, moves the waters of our ocean in a current in the Atlantic Ocean. If it stalls, it's one of those global tipping points that flashes extreme danger. One of the scientists presenting this morning on parliamentary health just down the road at 1 Wellington pointed out that scientists now no longer regard the stalling of this global circulatory ocean system as of low probability. They think you can no longer say it's low risk. It's now moving into a zone of higher risk. And to avoid it being inevitable, we need rapid reductions in greenhouse gases and rapid protection of forest cover. Just to draw the obvious conclusion and the obvious point that despite the fact that climate change isn't being promoted by this new version of the Liberal government, we don't have a climate plan, we have a commitment in verbal commitment to meet our Paris Agreement targets.
The French is too much. Like,
that it could include our own species. Yeah. When this information is presented to parliamentarians just down the way, and I know nobody's noticing, I feel it's my role as leader of the Green Party of Canada to at least say out loud, we don't have much time. And when I sit in the House of Commons and hear Liberal MPs boast that we have now an all-time high production of fossil fuels from Canada and we need more pipelines, it's hard not to stand up and scream, but I don't because it violates the rules of Parliament. And
there's probably a couple reasons that it's hard to stand up for Liz May.
I follow parliamentary rules of procedure because I respect this place enormously. Yeah. Lastly, what will a difference make? What's the difference between Mark Carney with a minority Liberal government and Mark Carney with a majority Liberal government? I honestly don't know. But since June, massive anti-democratic measures that expand and concentrate power in the hands of the Prime Minister, even to saying we can decree that laws can be broken, have passed rapidly. They haven't been slowed down because they've been supported by the Conservative Party. So Bill C-5 in this place, the so-called Build Canada Act, went from second reading to third reading, from a Monday to a Friday, never adequately studied in committee. So when I hear our Prime Minister, whom I respect, saying, well, now that we have a majority, we won't have to waste so much time in committee. We do not waste time in committees studying bills. They are passed before they can be studied at all, over and over again. So I now hear a certain amount of interest behind me in the next speaker, so I don't want to take too much of your time.
I'm sure. But we're going to watch this now. Like, we just watched question period. Watch the way the legacy media swings this. They're going to swing this like Carney won that debate. That's what they're going to do. But he didn't. He got slammed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. There are 3 Liberal taxes on gasoline. Number 1, there's the excise tax. Then there's the new Liberal carbon tax they call the fuel standard. And then they charge the GST on those other 2 taxes. Now, with Canada having the highest grocery price inflation in the G7 and paying 20% more at the pumps, we put the pressure on the Prime Minister, and he's partially backed down, removing only one of those taxes and only for a third of the year. Why doesn't he follow our full plan to reduce gas prices by 25 cents a litre by getting rid of all the taxes for all the year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what the government is proposing is to cut the excise tax, 10 cents a litre for gasoline, 4 cents on diesel. We've already cut the consumer carbon tax, 18 cents per litre. We are recycling all the excess revenues from higher oil prices to Canadians. What we are not doing is what the Leader of the Opposition is proposing, which is to substantially increase the deficit, something he's regularly against by more than $3 billion.
What kind of irony is that?
Because this government can count, Mr. Speaker. This government can count.
The joke. Slam here. Slam that guy.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What he is not doing is increasing the deficit. It's only up by 100% since he took office, Mr. Speaker.
That's
Does he even read his own budget, or does he want Canadians not to know what's inside it? In fact, all the money printing that he does, because he's famous for causing inflation, he's made a career out of it. Statistics Canada has made it clear that the gap between rich and poor is now greater than it's ever been in a report published just this week. One of the biggest taxes on the poor is the gas tax. Instead of just removing a third of the tax for the third of the year, why not get rid of the entire Liberal tax on gas for the whole year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's so arrogant.
Mr. Speaker, one thing I've learned in my economics education is you've got to study history and you've got to look at numbers. My record as a central bank governor is inflation less than 2% at the Bank of Canada.
Copy your thesis?
Inflation less than 2% at the Bank of England. But let's get back to where we are today, which is wages in this country are growing at more than twice the rate of inflation. And I'll spell it out for the member opposite. That means Canadians are getting ahead.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's clear that he's learned all the wrong lessons. Not only did he cause the housing crisis in London, not only did he cause the worst inflation in the G7 when he was the bank governor over there, he advised Justin Trudeau to print money here, causing inflation. And since arriving in Canada, he's given us the worst food price inflation in the G7, the worst investment in the G7, the worst housing costs in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7. So why doesn't he learn his lesson from all the failed economic experiments that only benefit insiders with tax havens like him and get rid of all the taxes on gas for all of the year?
Prime Minister.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Mr. Speaker, I feel like I'm in the presence of students. And on an exam, I don't think you were passing.
That arrogance isn't going to fool them all. Like, CBC can't cover up for your lies all the time. You're a liar, Mark Carney. You're such a coward. Arrogant.
Exam with those answers. Mr. Speaker, as the IMF confirmed yesterday, Canada will have the second fastest growth in the G7 this year. As the IMF confirmed yesterday, we have the best fiscal position in the G7. As we have confirmed, we have the highest foreign direct investment per capita in the world.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, the Liberal arrogance. You can cut through it with a knife. This is someone...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition may continue.
Yeah, we have...
Get it under control, Frank.
Mr. Speaker, what we have over there is inflation of Liberal arrogance. Yes. Right now, he wants to tell Canadians that they've never had it so good when food prices are rising faster in Canada than any other country in the G7, when Canadian households are the most indebted in the G7, when Canadian housing costs are the most elevated in the G7, and when just today RBC reported that we have the worst investment in the G7. The question again is, Canadians cannot afford gas at the pump. Why not get rid of all the taxes for all the year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
You have, Mr. Speaker, to learn a lesson, you have to have ears to hear. There are some on the benches opposite who've been listening, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, it's arrogance right there, man. That's my Carnage see you next Tuesday.
The wages are growing more than twice the rate of inflation in this country. They will notice that rents have gone down relative to incomes for 33 straight months. They will notice that I am out of time.
I hope so. I hope Mark Carney's at a time. What do you guys think? Aaron, Canadian Looney, thank you guys for watching. I don't know what's next. Like, it's such a mess out there. Like, they're gaining in popularity, guys. Like, I know that I have people that are mostly looking for change that watch the channel. I don't know what to do. It's getting worse, it would seem. Anyways, we'll keep you tuned in to what's going down. Aaron, Canadian Looney, smash that like, hit subscribe. We're out for now. We'll go out on this.
Oh, yeah.
We do it.
You should do exercises. That's important to our good health. Friends, tomorrow we are going to be visiting with a fisherman who will tell us about his very enjoyable hobby. Now, I would like to see you all through our magic mirror. Romper, bumper, stomper, boo, tell me, do. Magic mirror, please tell me today, did all of my friends have fun at play? I see all of my friends in Alberta. It's nice to see you. And I see Dan and Vivian. I see Marlon and Mona. I see Catherine and Harley. I see Anne and Elizabeth and Jane. I see Bert and Nicole, and I see you too. I hope to see you tomorrow, right here in Romper Room. Ding dong, knock knock, hey daddy do. Bing bong, tick tock, bebop boom.
Kick off your weekend with exciting CFL action when the Edmonton Eskimos tackle the BC Lions in Vancouver. Tomorrow night at 10:30 on CFTO TV.